So, we've got a few things, well, two things lined up today. First on the docket is Halo news.
Most of the good ones are here anyway.
I'm not the Halo buff, so we're gonna let Justin take it from here.
Halo. Oh my god. Halo, guys. It's Halo.
I know. He hears that word and he immediately perks up. He's like, Halo? Yes.
Halo? Well, when it comes to Halo Infinite, the flight test is primarily just going to be the multiplayer. And from how previous flight tests have worked for 4 and 5, it's probably going to be the same, where it's going to be a very select few game modes. Where...
Hold on, flight test? What are they going to do? Stick people in rockets?
Maybe. I mean,
what is this flight test you mentioned?
How more vehicles and more flying vehicles have been getting introduced, who knows what's getting introduced this time.
So what, is it a test they're running, or is it like some kind of beta?
It's basically a combination of them testing their servers and being able to also test how the public likes the gameplay so far.
So basically it's an open beta test.
It's basically an open beta. It's just people call it a flight because that's how that program works. You have to apply for a program and then you get invited to the flight. So, you know, that's how that works. But from what we do know is the flight should be taking place this week. Some people think it's this weekend, some people think it's tomorrow. All we do know is it is this week. No videos have come out just yet, so that's how you can tell it's not done yet.
Sounds like it's somewhere between the world of an NDA and an invite-only party.
A little bit. But what we do know right now is, well, if it goes well, then a lot of good positive vibes are going to be coming back from a lot of whatever the articles from those people, and then, you know, the videos of the people who actually play video games quite often. And we're going to know, alright, they put a good amount of work into this. It's not a buggy mess. We don't have to worry about crashes, empty voids going and filling up the screen. We should be good to go.
Are we sure that's the reason they postponed it? Last I heard it was because the Brute looked like he was put through a blender.
Well, graphics can be one thing. I mean, if it all looks like blocks, I think we're fine. But if it all breaks down, then I think that's a bigger problem.
Well, if it all looks like blocks, it's not Halo. At that point, it's Minecraft.
I mean, it's a Minecraft mod. You never know.
Emergency generators now.
Halo Minecraft mod.
They're down and charging.
As soon as they're up,
Wow.
But
that would be interesting. Minecraft Master Chief. Oh god.
I mean, that already exists, you fool.
Oh no.
But
even more terrifying.
That's the Halo news. Hopefully the flight does go well. Hopefully the servers are able to handle what they're going to be putting through it. Because I believe there was one time with Halo 4, the servers had a bit of a hiccup. So hopefully everything goes well there, because they do have a lot going on when it comes to gameplay. So we'll see how that goes.
We shall see, and we'll see how long before news breaks of either the game being the next great thing since sliced bread or a complete and utter mess up.
Yep.
Which, for this industry, would just be another in a long, long line. Speaking of industry mess-ups, Activision. Just Activision. I think I can just leave it there and we can just cut this. Welcome. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We're done.
It's the end.
Cut the camera.
Ending.
No. This time in the world of corrupt company news, Activision, and the massive lawsuit that has been filed against them by, well, their own devs, actually. This lawsuit that entails, and you can actually find this entire lawsuit, actually, the entire suit, in the actual description of the video. We'll link that in there because it is an open document. Is... and I quote, plaintiffs, Department of Fair Employment and Housing, an agency of the United States of California, the agency of the state of California versus the defendants of Activision Blizzard Entertainment Incorporated, Blizzard Entertainment Incorporated, Activision Publishing Incorporated, and does one through Tencent Incorporated. Or through 10 inclusive. I might be reading the document. It's a mouthful. Again, if you're into legalese, ladies and gentlemen, we'll link it in the and we'll link it in the description
for you to see.
If you're really into that kind of thing. However, this document has some pretty juicy stuff in it. It's a mess. It's a mess. Basically, what the whole suit revolves around is the fact that, well, women in Activision are treated like utter garbage, to put it very, very kindly. You have things like cube crawls, which are apparently where male employees would get very, very, well, let's just say one too many, and then basically go from one cubicle to the other and more or less rape. Or no. Well, would it be a nice way to say it?
Bad things
Bad
happen.
things to
Very bad
to.
things happen.
I shouldn't say the RAPE word because YouTube doesn't like it. Oh, there goes our ad funding. Dang it.
What ad funding?
What ad funding? But anyways, so basically, in all story short, the lawsuit is basically by the state of California on behalf of the Blizzard employees, or Activision employees, I should say, who are basically facing widespread harassment of their female employees, and it is a terrible, terrible thing. Honestly, you have horrible, horrible testimonies in here.
Yeah, you don't
Basically,
want that kind of stuff happening, and well, seeing that it is, it's not so good.
Yeah. Basically, we're dealing with a frat boy culture, well, not apparently, in fact, that is at Activision, which is just a horrible thing. And I mean, one of the testimonies here, or one of the examples we're given here, is that supervisors ignored medical restrictions given to female employees and gave them negative evaluations when they were out on maternity leave. Other female employees reported that they were criticized for leaving to pick up their children from daycare while their male counterparts were playing video games, and female employees were kicked out of lactation rooms, so things that women need when they're, of course, you know. So employees could use them for meeting rooms. That is just one of the issues we're dealing with here. There's a long line of other testimonies that we will go into later on. So, it is a very terrible, terrible bunch that we have here at Activision, which I'm surprising nobody. And it is quite ironic considering that all of this comes in the wake of CEO Bobby Kotick, the big cheese at Activision, laying off tons of employees, and yet he's getting more money.
Yep. I mean, isn't that how it's supposed to work? I mean, big CEO always get money. Come on. Yeah.
So while the big cheeses roll in the dough, the little men suffer. Or in this case, little women and men. Or just little people in general. It's a terrible.
Small people don't get much.
However, most of this is focused around Blizzard in particular. Well, Activision Blizzard. I say that it is an Activision suit because with the way the legality of Activision Blizzard works these days, is that they're actually... Would you say they're one conglomerate at this point, Activision Blizzard? They're more or less the same.
I would say they've basically been bought out now, and Activision controls it all.
Yeah, they've always been used. They've always been showed off in tandem, and they're always interchangeable. So, I mean, at this point, they're basically partners in crime. So, when a suit drops on Blizzard, which is the actual, well, the suit itself is on Activision and Blizzard because again, they're both technically the same thing at this point. So, it's an interesting bunch, and we even have people like J. Allen Brack, the big cheese at Blizzard, giving a interesting statement, saying how he has a lot of emotions coming out of yesterday, and this was again yesterday because at the time of the writing of this email reported by Jason Schreier, who got a hand of this little office circulated email from again J. Allen Brack himself, it was the day after this whole business started breaking, so that's why he reports it as of yesterday. The allegations and the hurt of current and former employees are extremely troubling. Mind you, throughout this entire piece, he never actually once says what exactly is troubling, nor does he actually apologize for anything. He just vaguely alludes to things.
Acknowledges it very slightly.
He kind of dances around the issue. He never once says that there is harassment or... Well, no, he does say that there are harassment. He never once says that it's his fault, or, he failed or management failed. He just says that he doesn't like what's going on, which is quite interesting. Excuse me, I'll take a drink. I'll just read the whole bit in full. Again, this email that report on from Jason Schreier from BRAC. Again, in the description if you want to read it, but I'll just read it here and just quote it. I personally have a lot of emotions coming out of yesterday. I know you do too. The allegations and the hurt of current and former employees are extremely troubling. I know many of you would like to receive more clarity. While I cannot comment on the specifics of the case as it's an open investigation, what I can say is that the behavior detailed in the allegations is completely unacceptable. Point 1. It goes with saying it is completely unacceptable for anyone in the company to face discrimination or harassment. Point 2. And I'm just saying point because they're in bullet points, but just for the sake of description. It goes with saying that anyone who should feel safe working here, whether we are on campus at BlizzCon or working from home. And bullet 3, it goes with saying it takes courage to come forward, and all claims brought to the company are investigated by internal and, when needed, external investigators. We take these claims very seriously, and claims can be made without fear or retaliation, and many times I attend to them personally along with other leaders. The same leaders who are, according to these suits, responsible for all of this, but semantics. Continuing.
Semantics.
Continuing on, he says, stepping back, when I talked with Bobby about taking this job, Bobby referencing Bobby Kotick, the head of Activision, about taking this job, one of the first things I mentioned was and here's where it gets really interesting, ladies and gentlemen, was a reverend saint of the Brack household, the Gloria Sternum. Yes, I think I'm pronouncing that correct. Growing up the values of women as equals, understanding the work that had been done for equal treatment, and the fact there was still much to do were common themes. This is just one of the reasons, why the fight for equality is incredibly important to me. People with different backgrounds, views, and experiences are essential for Blizzard, our teams, and our player community, and I disdain bro culture, as he so says. And I have spent my career fighting against it. Yeah, sure you have.
We'll see about that.
Iterating on our culture with the same intensity that will bring to our games is imperative. With our values acting as our North Star, this is some of the most important work we do, both as professionals and human beings. It goes on. Forgive me, I'm just having trouble just reading this self-glorification, essentially, I think is what the best thing I can say for this is. Holier than thou, indeed.
All
a company,
fancy.
A company, as he goes on to state, a company is more than a legal construct that exists as a piece of paper in a filing cabinet in Delaware. The people that work at the company make it what it is through their actions and creations. Each of us play a role in maintaining a place of safety for one another. It is also up to each of us to continue to craft the Blizzard we want and commit to doing our part in keeping Blizzard great by always aspiring for more. More money, I would imagine. The leadership team and I will be meeting with you to answer questions and discuss how we can move forward. In the meantime, I want you to know that you can talk to any manager, any PR, any HR partner, any member of the legal team, or any one of the executive team, including, hey Jay, if you feel more comfortable talking to someone outside of Blizzard or prefer to be anonymous, you can contact the way to play integrity line. Again, that's blurred out for the sake of, I feel angry, sad, and a host of other emotions, but I also feel grateful to work alongside a set of leaders and thousands of employees who join me in their commitment to continuous improvement. Thank you, Blizzard. J. Allen Rack. Or JAB, as he goes by. And there you have it. The entire written statement on this whole state of affairs from the top dog at Blizzard himself. It is irritating, to put it lightly, how he does it. So, any thoughts, Justin, about this state of affairs?
I mean, it just kind of seems like the default corporate thing, make it seem nice no matter what.
it is kind of interesting how he never once kind of takes blame for any of it, how he just basically says how he is upset about things, but there will try to be improvement. I think we've heard Ubisoft make the same commitment over 60,000 times at this point. And EA make it about 80,000 times at this point, and it never happens. So let's not hold our breath, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Let's just hope the lawsuit gets to the truth of everything and it all gets resolved, hopefully.
Indeed. Speaking of Ubisoft, the idea that Ubisoft has reportedly made minimal changes following their own abuse allegations later on from prior in the year. So interesting how Ubisoft hasn't changed their tune much either. I can only imagine how Activision will probably not change at all either. It is... I'm honestly at a loss of how to cover this, ladies and gentlemen. It is just an abhorrent thing. You hear basically the female employees being treated like garbage. And again, I could go on and on about testimonies.
Yeah. It's not so fun to see. Not so fun.
Interestingly enough, another executive, only I think a few days later, or at least sometime later, weighed in with her own, shall we say, spin on things. Fran Townsend, who is another executive at Blizzard, and interestingly enough, was the former Homeland Security Advisor to George W. Bush from 04 to 07. Interesting. I'm not too sure how a previous Homeland Security Advisor landed a job as an executive at Activision Blizzard, but
here we are.
Here we are, yes. And this is again another email that Jason Schreier had been sent to him, and this was again another company-wide email from, again, Miss Fran. And this email goes as follows. This one is a bit more, shall we say, on the defense of the company side, whereas Brax's was more self-glorification. I feel this one lands more in the category of PR protect the company. To put it lightly, this is not something that was sent for the employee's sake, it was sent for the sake of the lawyers, if you know what I mean.
Cover your
This
asses.
one, quite. And again, this email will again be linked in the description if you're interested in looking at it. Or should I say, well, the tweet of Schreier with this email on it. Anyways, I shall read it in full for the sake of the video, however. It begins. Everyone, as an executive sponsor of the ABK Employees Women's Network and our Chief Compliance Officer, I wanted to reach out to you. I know this has been difficult for many of us. A recent filed lawsuit presented a distorted and untrue picture of our company. Right. Including factually incorrect, old and out-of-context stories, some from more than a decade ago. We'll get to that later. On my own note. The Activision companies of today, the Activision company that I know, and interestingly enough, the word companies appears quite often in this little tweet.
Interesting.
Just saying. Anyways, we continue. That I know are great companies with good values. When I joined the executive leadership team, I was certain that I joined a company that I would be valued, treated with respect, and provided equal opportunities equal, to those afforded to me of the men of the company. For me, this has been a true daring. This has been true during my time as a leader, and I'm committed to making sure that the experience that I have is the same as the rest of the organization. We have a leadership team that is committed to these principles in every way. I am proud to be the part of a company that takes a hard-line approach to inappropriate and hostile work environments. Is that why this has been going on for over a decade? Because of your hardline approach? Anyways, and sexual harassment issues. Our Speak Up campaign resolves our zero tolerance for retaliation against those who dare speak up. We've made significant investments to foster inclusive behaviors and to reflect greater diversity within our leadership teams, including, going back to the bullet points, investing and strengthening our DE&I employee networks, creating global networks to bring together the efforts in all of our business units, and the introduction of executive sponsors. introducing learning and developing programs, including inclusive hiring training, amplifying internal programs such as the Y2Play Heroes, and the recruiting Speak Up and the reoccurring Speak Up campaign, reinforcing channels for employees to report violations, including the Ask list. I'm not too sure what that is. Introducing an employee relations team dedicated to investigating employee concerns, continuing to require all employees to take equality and diversity training, including anti-harassment training, and have done so for many years. Indeed. We put tremendous effort into creating fair compensation policies that reflect our commitment to equal opportunity. We review compensation regularly and feel confident that we pay all employees fairly for equal or substantially similar work. On a side note, ladies and gentlemen, that is quite ironic considering as of earlier this year, employees at Blizzard and Activision, I believe, I think it was Blizzard or Activision, one of the two, basically started compiling a list of everyone's pay in the office in a kind of closed-in survey, and it revealed some pretty vast disparities in the pay that was being dished out in the company. So it's quite interesting how she references fair compensation policies, considering how unfair the, shall we say, policies they've enacted have been revealed to be. Quite hypocritical? Anyways. We take proactive steps to ensure that pay and advancement are driven by merit. We reward performance and we conduct extensive anti-discrimination trainings, including for those who are part of the compensation process. We work as a company that truly feels equality and fairness. Rest assured that leadership is committed to continuing to maintain a safe, fair, and inclusive workplace. I'm trying not to sound over dramatic here, but that's just how this email is going off. I'm sorry, but it is. We cannot let erroneous actions of others and a truly meritless and irresponsible lawsuit damage our culture of respect and equal opportunity for all employees. We aspire in our company to do great things in our games, in our impact on society, and in our work environment. We continue to hold firm to our principles and invest as we have in the past. The resources to ensure quality opportunities for all employees. We remain committed as a leadership team to doing what is right. Fran. Oh boy. That feels way more HR political spin than I think it, well no, I think it's entirely meant to come off that way.
Yep.
This feels the very definition of cover thine ass, as Justin earlier mentioned. And again, there is a lot of interesting bits to pick out in this piece from Fran, especially considering how she references the out-of-context stories, some from more than a decade ago. And while some of them are indeed from a very long time ago, there are also many from very, very recently. The very fact that there are those from a decade ago simply is proof that this has been going on for decades. But, you know, as I say, semantics, right?
It's just a little hiccup. Don't worry about it.
There is a lot of, shall we say, wrong in this email, but it is interesting. And again, there are... It is... I'm not too sure where to go with this, honestly. That would do it justice, in my opinion.
I mean, just kind of going back to the point of let's just hope it all gets down to the actual truth and it all gets resolved properly.
Indeed, indeed. Let us hope this all gets resolved in due course. And while some could say that there could be some truth to these stories, there could be some wrong to these stories,
at the end of the day, there is something going on.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that the lawsuit mentions the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, an agency of the state of California, does indicate, or there has been an investigation from the Department of Fair Employment and Housing of, again, the state of California, a government institution, that looked into Activision Blizzard over the course of several years said, hey, there is a problem, fix it, and they didn't fix it, and thus the lawsuit. So clearly there is an issue here.
Yeah.
And if you hear Activision tell it, this is all just lies and, an attempt to destroy their perfect image as a company. And yet when you hear the employees tell it, it's more that the company is just full of shit. So, another glorious day in the games industry, I suppose.
Welcome to the game of he said, she said.
He said this, she said that, yada,
Now we
yada,
find
yada.
out who is true and who is done.
I don't know. It does feel that there is a lot to pick apart here. Again, this is something that I would... Again, if you are interested, we have stuff that we will link in the description again, such as the entire lawsuit itself that has been made open, as well as some of the stuff we've used for the case of the article. But including one of them from Kotaku, interestingly enough, that does have a lot of interesting testimonies. One of them in particular that is used in the suit, which actually has been picked out as an interesting point for Activision, saying how there was no care that this was used in the lawsuit in respect to the family and the tragedy that occurred. What tragedy am I talking about? Well, apparently, well, I say apparently, but there is a particular tragic example, and a particularly famous example, apparently, in the Activision Blizzard, of a female employee who committed suicide during a business trip with a male employee who had brought butt plugs and lubricant with him on the trip, which... There was a lot of things messed up in Activision. That, I think, goes without saying at this point. So...
Yep.
I do hope they get what's coming to them.
May the truth be revealed.
May the truth be revealed indeed. And again, this all comes off the heels, like I said, of Bobby Kotick, big cheese at Activision, who's laying off more employees and is only getting richer for it. So, like I said, this is a company that doesn't value their employees at all. And I mean, it's bad when you are so greedy, even your shareholders take a step back and are like, whoa, wait, you're making too much money. When the shareholders start saying you're making too much money, you're making too much money. That's just the end of the story. But, yeah.
Well, let's see where they go with everything.
Yeah.
If they continue to make more money off of some of this.
I think this isn't more of a money scheme at this point. I think this is just them trying to, at their best, bury the lead, so to speak.
Probably.
Again, going back to Ubisoft, for example, they had issues basically very similar to this earlier in the year, and Ubisoft is anything if not good at burying the lead, and people promptly more or less forgot about the whole issue as far as the general public was concerned, because Ubisoft has mastered the idea of, oh, don't look at this, look at the pretty games we make instead. And I think that's kind of the direction Activision wants to take with this. They're trying to divert as much attention away from this as possible. But the thing is that there's way too much outcry from just all over the place for them to do that effectively.
Yeah, that's the big thing when it comes to this, is when it starts, you can't really get rid of it, because it's always going to be remembered.
I hate to say the word, but in almost... I don't want to say to Ubisoft's credit, but in Ubisoft's kind of like method of doing this, they cut it off before it really got much traction, so it really didn't get much traction aside from a few people who really started, looking for
But
pieces.
here's the thing, is it's gonna start gaining traction again really quickly, because
interestingly
since there
enough,
is articles and stuff of it.
There is articles, and I think this whole business with Activision Blizzard will maybe shine a light back on that issue. So we will see how that plays out, like I always say. But this is indeed bringing up the issue of inequality of women in the video games industry, which again is a very prevalent issue among many other things, such as, straight up corruption and just greed.
Yeah, that's gaming almost in a nutshell there.
Yeah, Creed and Corruption, gaming in a nutshell, right?
Well, hopefully, not an enjoyable topic, that is for certain.
No,
But
no.
you were informed about what's going on in the happenings of gaming today.
And not one of our more cheery topics, ladies and gentlemen. I forgive you, and forgive us if this topic was a little bit more scattered and
Gruesome.
not so well reported. I don't want to kind of defend myself here, but we're just compiling like multiple days worth of, at this point, kind of like multiple weeks worth of allegations, and more coming out every day. In fact, I think something broke today of over 250. 2,500 Blizzard employees on protest, and that was only recently. So more stuff is definitely continuing to happen. And if you're interested, I would recommend keeping your eye on this as it develops, because devil knows the entire industry will be. That's for sure. Not just the journalists, but I'm sure the executives as well.
Well, besides that, hopefully, like I said, you were informed.
Yes,
And
oh my goodness, we have gotten over our time for this week.
This has been the midweek report.
Yeah, this has been the midweek report, I suppose. Again, all this will be linked in the description. Look at it. Again, I would recommend you do. And in the words of the immortal Red Green, remember, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. Good night.